In 2016, in that year, my house was locked more times than I paid. Like, I think it had been locked for 8 months and I paid rent for 4 months. Had the best time. Like, I've made friends like you because of my work. I have had some very memorable moments doing someone's wedding, giving the bride her photo book and watching her cry. But the one thing I hate about being a business owner, like, it's never enough. Like, I'm sure you'll understand because you're also doing it. Like, there's no point in your head where you see yourself being at a good.
Yeah. The goalpost always keep moving.
And I think that's the love of a mom. Even when I opened my first studio, she even gave me like some money. I didn't even ask her for it. I'm grateful to God because not everyone has someone who would fight for you like that.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of A Letter to My Younger Self. Today's guest is a near and dear friend of mine. You guys know him as Muma Pix. I call him Frank. He is a content creator as well as a photographer. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Thank you.
Can you tell the people how me and you met?
So, we had gone to this strip club. Was
I should have known.
I'm sorry. So I DM'd Maxine in 2019.
Yeah.
And I told her that I want to do a photo shoot with her. At that time, my studio was in the house. And since I didn't want to squeeze the very famous Obosha into my one-bedroom apartment, which was also a studio, I told her, let's do an outdoor shoot.
I actually didn't know about that part of the journey.
Oh, you didn't know I had a
your studio in the house? No.
Yeah, I imagine that's where I started.
I thought you just used to do outdoor.
No, the studio was now for people around Ruiru because that's where I used to stay. Yeah. Then I told Maxine, yeah, let's go shoot in this weird, dangerous tunnel in Lemuru, and she was very quick to say yes. To a total stranger.
And it ended up being a hike.
Yeah.
To a tunnel, like it's a railway tunnel, yeah?
Yeah.
Where we had to go with guns because apparently people get mugged and kidnapped inside the tunnel.
Yeah.
Anyways, and the rest is history. Ever since then, Frank has done every single birthday photo shoot that you've had.
Yeah, graduation.
Graduation especially.
Yeah.
And it's always so interesting to receive a letter from a friend. Actually, it makes me feel a bit guilty because every time I read the letter, I find out new things and I'm like, oh my God, I actually didn't know all these things about a person who, I call my friend.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, I think I'll start by reading to us your letter.
Dear Chief, you just arrived in Kirimara High School after leaving a mixed school, and before that, another boys' school. Your body is weak, still not aware that you have both TB and ulcers. You have lost 30 kilos, and after failing to cope in school, you go back home to recover for a whole term. You were a great rugby player, but your lungs are never the same, so you're not as fast as you used to be, but you still try your best. Join the journalism club and discover your passion for the media industry. You hated Dad for being cold and a dictator. Turns out he made you disciplined enough to not waste your youth doing dumb things. And Mom, dear sweet Mom, she's your biggest supporter. Even when you started shooting, she's the one who kept backing you. The rest thought you were wasting your time. She deserves the world, and I swear we will give it to her. I'm proud of you. You didn't follow groups. Your own man, and it was worth it. We are now 30 years, not hot wife yet, but a business owner with a bright future. LFG. So when I went to the mixed school, at first I was excited, new school, I was ready to get back to studying. I think that's why I even performed my best because, I just went so hard at it.
Yeah.
And then I was not comfortable in a mixed school because, watu walikuwa wanakatiana huko. And I know it's weird to say this because as a guy, you're expecting me to get, excited, their girls. But me, I felt like it was too much of a distraction at the time for me. So I just stayed there for one term and I told my dad, yeah, can you just find a boys' school for me? I don't like this environment. Yeah.
So even that next switched you who requested for it.
Yeah. It's me who requested for that.
And then that's around the time when you get diagnosed with both TB and ulcers.
Yeah.
So what happened? Like what led to you, going to hospital and getting diagnosed? And how was this period for you like? Because you even had to get quarantined. So how did you get diagnosed and how was that whole period like for you?
I remember at first I started losing weight, but I didn't think much of it. I thought it's because I'm stressed. And then my appetite was gone, so I wasn't eating. So I thought that was a reason. And I remember like when I went home for the holidays after the first time in the mixed school, I usually like devour around 3 to 5 chapati. And then when my mom put the usual chapatis on the table, I only ate half a chapati. And she was like, this boy is sick. Yeah. So we went to hospital. The first hospital I went to, I was misdiagnosed. They said I had something weird like hepatitis. And then now I was taken to another hospital. And like when they do the TB tests, they have to test you for HIV. So I remember the doctor telling me, we need to do a test for HIV. I was like, I'm still a virgin. What are you talking about? And I remember like it was awkward because me and my dad in the hospital. So, when these conversations happen with our traditional parents, they're usually like, he doesn't want to speak because I was in a mixed school, so he's wondering if this boy has been doing things. I'm like, you're still a virgin. So yeah, that's when they tested me, and they were like, I have both TB and ulcers. And then they gave me medication, and then I got now the new school. But you see, now I had lost weight and everything. So I tried to stay in school for like a week, but it was hard because I couldn't eat. When I tried to take the medicine, I would end up puking. So you see, now to these guys, this is the version of me they think is normal, like this one guy. So I remember even like when they were asking the new students like what they play, and I'm there like I play rugby. They're like, this one, because they don't understand. So like after a week, I was like, yeah, I can't do this. So my dad just came for me, and I had to stay home for like a whole term. Yeah.
That time you're in Form 3 still, I'm a Form 4 now.
So now when I switched school, I decided, I was in Form 3. So now since I had gone home for a whole term, I decided now to go back to Form 2 when I came back. Because I had already missed like 2 months before I found the mixed school. And then now I've missed a whole term because of sick.
Yeah.
So I was like, now I have to repeat. Yeah, so I went back to Form 2.
Okay, so now you went back to Form 2 in the beginning. I'm like, uko third term.
Third
Or
term.
you just, now you went back to Form 2, I'm on third term.
Yeah,
so now you've gone back to school.
Yeah.
Now you bulked up, you have a new identity.
Yeah.
Guys are calling you Chief.
Yeah, like this.
First of all, Chief. Why Chief? Like why nickname Chief? And what did this new identity mean for you?
First of all, I remember like, guys waiting for me like after class, and they're like, send madawa gani hizo umetumia buda others die. Now luckily there was one student who was in now Kilgoya Boys with me. Now him was like, no, this guy is like, this is his normal self.
Yeah.
So he's the one who made people like, okay now, because they thought I was
on steroids.
Yeah. And then because when I got back, I immediately me and other guys from different schools started rugby in that school because they didn't have it. And then I think now because that nature, and then I remember like playing shot put and things like those, and they were like, because of my big nature, like they started calling me Chief. And I found myself joining the popular.
So now you've got this new school, and you are part of all these other clubs and activities, and they seem to have really formed the person that you are today, especially, the journalism club. I just have to ask, what first first like took your interest when it came to media?
So I remember the the journalism club was called KPP. So they used to do this thing where they would write like news articles and then read them out during the parade, like every Monday and Friday morning. So I remember like they used to like try and make them humorous so that the guys could enjoy like while they are reading. So when I was still relatively new, I remember because now I had joined. Yeah, it's still in that term, and the guy who was in charge was in Form 4. So I remember him reading the news one morning. I was like, I went to him after parade. I was like, me, I could also write funny stories. Like I was just saying it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he was like, okay. So that was the Friday parade. So on Monday morning, he shows up during prep time, like at around 5 a.m. and he gives me a pen and paper. It's like, you're writing today's news, and he goes, I'm like, what? Wait, come back. I was like, no, me, I'm studying CG for what? And then he went, like, okay, this is my chance.
Yeah.
So I write it down. I write this article, and it's very hard to like if you're writing something normal, it's okay. Now imagine the pressure of making sure it's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, so I write this article, and I'm like, I give him and my desk mate, and I'm like, this time this thing is funny because I can't mess up my first article. He says, this thing is good, it's going to kill. So I write it, I'm very confident, and then I take it to the guy. And I'm like, he's like, where are you going? The person who writes the first article has to read it. I'm like, what? You didn't say that part. And it's like after breakfast, so we are literally heading to parade.
Yeah.
And he was like, good luck. And then he goes, I'm like, you can't be serious.
Yeah.
So we get to the parade, and I'm standing there and I'm shaking. And then they call out now the KPP guys. And then he looks at me and like, hey, I was so tense, man. So I remember going up to there, looking at all these faces. I'm like, if this shit is not funny, this is going to be so embarrassing. And then I start reading out the article. And the confidence I got when people started dying with laughter. And they were, hey, Lani, it was so good. Yani, people were like, hey, Yani, you wrote this. And from then I ended up being the assistant chief editor. So when he finished Form 4, now I ended up becoming the editor. And that's how I started my journalism journey.
Yeah, and actually after high school, when you joined uni, what did you take?
Mass comm.
Mass comm, yeah. And at that point, the goal was to read news. Like that's what you wanted, like how, your journey began. So how did you go from basically just wanting to be in front of people reading the news to photography?
So I remember, like, I'd gotten enough experience reading news, so I was very confident with myself. So there was this competition in KTN called The Presenter, where guys would go and compete, and then I think the top 2 students would end up being presenters at KTN. So I remember applying for this. My mom was so excited for me. She was like, you've been doing this. I know you got this. So I got there, even with a couple of guys from JKUAT. And I remember I arrived on time. And then I thought that, when you get there, you present what you have in mind. So I'd prepared something. So when I get there, the guys it was like 3 guys on a table. And they're like, okay, now introduce yourself. And then I introduce myself very confidently. And then they do that, nodding of approval. I'm like,
Bag.
Now they tell me, now instead of me presenting the story I have, they're like, so the president just fired Joseph Olelenku, and they have hired someone in Kayseri. Go. Hey, did I know those names? So I started, so the president just fired, the president just fired, sorry, what did you say? It was downhill from there. My confidence was broken. I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be a presenter. My whole life is a lie. I feel bad, and then I go home. And it was around the same time when we were looking for attachment. So, and I just lost the energy to work now in a media house. So my dad got me a gig where this guy used to shoot music video. He's called Wiley Films. So he used to shoot music videos, and I went there with the now intention of learning how to maybe shoot music videos. So one day he told me to take behind the scenes photos with a camera. So when I took the photos, I was like, these photos are actually good. You should maybe try photography. I was like, okay. So that's basically where I started.
How you started.
Yeah.
But then now that you got into photography, still at the same time you ended up being a content creator because like you do all these funny films. Every time we meet, I normally just prepare myself because I know I'm going to be, roped into doing one of these scripts. So what has this taught you? The first of all, wanting to be a news anchor, then ending up photography, and then being in photography and still being a content creator. What has it taught you about being adaptable when it comes to your career choice?
I would say that it's something that you have to do because you can't predict where the world is going to be like 3 years from now. So the place I am today, I would never have guessed it. Who knew Instagram would end up being a source of income for all of us? Like in 2013, Instagram was just a thing we were using to post pictures and, with your family, friends. Like it was what Facebook used to be.
Yeah.
So now, like, I've just developed this attitude where I'm open to change, like whatever happens, because at the end of the day, as long as you're happy doing what you love doing and you're able to sustain yourself, I think you'll be good. Yeah.
What do you think is more important, or what should you pursue? Something that you're passionate in, or something that you're talented in? Because sometimes those two are not the same.
Yeah. I feel the world is really insisted on people pursuing what will make them the most money. For me, I don't believe in that. Like, I would rather not be the richest guy, but I enjoy working because, like, what's the point? I kill myself working and then I'm not living. Like, I don't think it makes sense.
Every single day being miserable.
Yeah, exactly.
But being miserable with money, actually, I'm like, let me put this money versus present better into the universe.
Yeah.
But also, I definitely 100% do agree. I feel like if I didn't, I'd be out there.
Engineer.
Being an engineer. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about family now. In the letter, when you describe your dad, you thought of him when you were younger. You basically describe him as this cold dictator. Then it seems like as you grew up, the thought of him changed where you're like, you know what, wait a minute. Maybe this guy was really just trying to instill discipline in me. And now I see the benefits of, how tough he was.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your dad. Like, what kind of person is he? What was the relationship that you guys had? And at what point did your perspective of him start to switch?
So, I would say my dad, first of all, is a hard worker. This man used to work hard. Like, when I now think about it now, because during my entire childhood, 5 a.m. my dad was out of the house. He will be back at 10. And that is Monday to Saturday.
Wow.
Daily. I can't do that now. When I was younger, probably, but he was doing it between his 30s and 40s. That is crazy. Like 5 a.m. daily. Like, that's what I knew. We never used to see my dad. But even when we saw him, he was always this strict guy. Hakuna kutoka nje, because we used to live in these apartments. We were staying on the 3rd floor. If he found you on the 2nd floor, it's that guy one day slapped me when I was hanging out with a bunch of girls making my usual jokes. And I was like, man, I hate this guy because everyone else around me was doing these things, were going out, and when we were kids. And in around our neighborhood, like I'm the only guy who like couldn't go out, me and my brothers. And I remember I used to resent him for it. I'm like, I'm saying nini. But then I grew up and I realized I'm not a drug addict like most of the boys in that area. Like it is scary how many boys in my area have not made it. I was actually focused. And like, like you don't know you're focused until someone tells you, like you're just doing what you used to be doing. So like, he would, he had this thing of always putting you down. And then I think I kind of understand why he did that, because he didn't like go past class 8. He only finished class 8, and then he started doing a course. So there are some primitive ways he used to use that an educated person would not maybe use. But when you think about, like, now when I talked to him when I was older, you see, like, to him, that's how he felt was the best way to, like, contain me. Because, your parents know you best. They know this one will need to be treated in a harder way than maybe this other one, because this one is more hard-headed. And I was actually more hard-headed when I was younger. So he did what he knew was best for me. And I'm really glad he did, because, I can't imagine, like, when I look at my journey, like starting this business and being a business owner at such a young age and building it from scratch, if I didn't have the discipline that he instilled in me, I would not be here. Yeah.
And when you talk about your mom, you basically describe her as, the sweetheart. And it's not the first time. I feel like in our stories, when we're talking, you've talked about your mom in the same way before. Tell us a bit about her and how she maybe influenced your career tree.
My mom is like, I would say she's like my best friend. She's someone who I'm very comfortable telling anything. Like, I even remember, like, even when I do some of my shoots that, like the nude ones or whatever, and guys are like, yo, can your mom does not see this? My mom even likes the photo. Like, you see how, like, there are people who block their parents from seeing things.
Yeah.
There's nothing I hide from my mom, because she has this thing of being very understanding. She knows who I am. She has faith in what I am. And I remember when I started, doing photography, you can imagine now telling my dad, because I dropped out of campus. And now my dad is now expecting me to wear suits and read news. And then I've come and told him I don't want to study. I want to start taking pictures. Like, unataka kuwa mtu wa picha wewe? Because they couldn't understand. My grandmother could not understand. And my mom never, like, even once did she go like, no, you can't do this. She was like, that's what you want to do? Okay. Even when I told her I'm dropping her, she was like, that's what you want to do? That's okay. And she's always been, because I even remember, you remember, like, small things a person does for you. Like, for example, like now when I'm adult, and then I remember some incidences when we were kids, like we weren't like very well off. So, but my dad tried the best to provide for us. But you see now, if you're not that well off, there are some things that are luxury. So I remember things like maybe school trips. To me, my dad, they were not necessary. So I remember, like, I never missed a school trip. And it's always my mom. Okay, the other things my dad paid for, but it's always my mom who paid for those trips. And it's always after, like, I will tell my dad, hey, we have a trip, 3,000 nini. And then my dad would be like, no. And then, like, maybe 3 days to the trip, my mom would, like, give me the money. So at that point, I didn't really think much of it. But now I'm like, maybe she just went and worked for that money for herself, because, like, you could see, like, when I think about it, I could feel like she really struggled to get that money just so I could go for a school trip. And I think that's the love of a mom. I remember even when I opened my first studio, she even gave me like some money, and I was like, I didn't even ask her for it, but she was just like, and I could tell like that's all she had. And that's why I think like having someone like that is just I'm grateful to God, because not everyone has someone who would fight for you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's even like now it's understandable why you go ahead and you say that you want to give her the world.
Yeah.
For Frank, what does the world look like? Like, what exactly is it that you'd like to give your mom?
I want my mom to enjoy things that, I know this may sound funny. You see things that these girls do online, like doing trips and just going to nice restaurants, wearing nice clothes, improving her home. Those are the things I want to do for my mom, because my mom never did any of those things. But she raised, I have 3 siblings, so I would say that she made sure that we were comfortable. So yeah, and it's something that me and my siblings always say, that we want to do the same for her now, like give her now the opportunity to be able to now enjoy life, the way she made sure we were as comfortable as we were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice. And I hope it actually does come to pass.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, and when you look at your parents, they seem very different. I mean, ultimately, they both wanted what was best for you.
Yeah.
But if you look at their 2 different parenting styles, what has it taught you about discipline and the importance of also having family support, in everything that you do? And should you, maybe one day want to have kids, what type of parents would you want to be?
I think I would lean more on being like my mom. Because hey, it's not that my mom my mom whooped me like a good one. Like the number of whoopings my mom has given me, like I even had nicknames for them. the legendary whooping of 202. This one was epic. I remember my mama told me, I don't want you to go out. And I was like, and I have this thing of doing stupid things I see on TV. So since our door was locked, I went and took a knife. And you know how those doors, when you do like this, and when you release, it does kacha.
Yeah.
So I took a knife, I straight the knife in there, so that when I close it behind me, it doesn't do kacha. I thought I was very intelligent. James Bond theme playing in my head. Then I went outside. Now, the dumb thing about kids, when you go outside, you always forget to limit the time you spend outside.
If that's having too much
I
fun.
have too much fun. Then my mom comes out and then she's like, Mungai, kuja ukunywe chai. And I've forgotten. I had been told not to go outside. So I say bye to my friends, I go skipping down the stairs to go have the alleged tea. My mom beat me from the sitting room all the way to the bedroom. So she had this balance, like she would beat you 1 minute, and then she the thing I love about her style, and I feel it was very crucial in my growing up, because my I get what my dad was trying to do, but if we were just raised by my dad, I think I would have turned into a very different person. Because I remember something like, for example, when I was doing my KCPE, my dad outright said like, wewe tu unakuanga tu na mchezo, wewe anajua hata utaanguka hiyo mtihani. Now you can imagine your parents saying something to you like that a day before the exam,
Yeah, I can.
And my mom was like, don't listen to him, you got this. And I remember like even when the results came out, and I had done actually relatively better than I expected. So my mom was there, and she made sure she gloated in front of him in my presence. I was like, vilisema ataanguka. So you see, like there was that balance. My dad was probably overboard, but my mom now was the softer one. So I feel, and she wasn't at it. She would just allow you to be indisciplined. So I think her parenting style would resonate more with me. Yeah.
And now, fast forward years later, you're a successful business person.
Amen.
How has that journey been like for you? Because, like, I've seen you, like you said, from the days where you had your studio basically in your one-bedroom house to now you've moved studio locations like at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Juicy, you've even just, redone your studio again. How has this whole journey been like for you?
Interesting to say the least. Like, when you start adulting, when you now start thinking about numbers, because when I started shooting, you just shoot, get your 3,000, you go home, and then now I had to move out, and now I'm paying rent. I remember, like, because I moved out in 2015, heading into 2016. In 2016, my house, in that year, my house was locked more times than I paid. Like, I think it had been locked for 8 months and I paid rent for 4 months. And, like, I had gotten used to, umezoea kufungiwa nyumba hadi, it's a surprise you have a house, and getting used to now learning, now I need to think about rent. You have this business, you don't have capital. Where do you start? A camera goes for like to 50K, where you get into 50,000. So it was more of, working slowly, joining a circle, getting loans, buying one equipment, paying it back, getting another loan, upgrading your equipment. Like, my entire 10 years, that's how it has been. Like, slow, very, very painful process of growth, but it has been working.
Look at you now.
Yeah. And still growing. Yeah. Do you know the one thing I hate about being a business owner? Like, it's never enough. Like, I'm sure you understand because you're also doing it. Like, there's no point in your head where you see yourself being I'm good.
Great.
Yeah.
The goalpost always keep moving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a constant rat race. But like I said, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then you won't be living, because even if it has been hard, it has been hard. Yeah, I've had the best time. Like, I've made friends like you because of my work. I have had some very memorable moments, like the small things, doing someone's wedding, giving the bride her photo book and watching her cry. Like, those things are the small rewards you get from this work. Yeah.
And what piece of advice would you give a young boy who was maybe in the same position that you were in high school?
Trust yourself. I would say trust yourself, because even after all those things happen, there's never at one point where I was like, I felt bad because of how the situation was making my mom feel. But me, I never felt bad for myself. Like, I never pitied myself or felt like I was not worthy or that I was a bad person. No, I always backed myself. Yeah.
As you conclude your letter, you say, you know what, keep being your own man. You say that you had never been a person to follow well and your own decisions, and that can be hard because especially in today's world, the outside noise can be really, really loud.
Yeah.
Why is it so important for you to keep being your own man?
Because I think that's how you can be the happiest version of yourself. If you do this thing where you want to follow people or you want to be like other people, like, you remember that time when I was joking about when we're in the car together, and then I'm like, you, Ian, and Alan are all A students. Like, yet we are in the same industry, we are doing the same things. But now imagine if I was trying to compare myself to you. Like, even when to say like, to you, it may look kind of easy, let me say, because you already did it. I don't see how in the world I would have gotten an A, even if I went back to high school. So now imagine if you don't trust yourself, that just because you have shortcomings in certain areas, like you can't follow people. We are all created in very different ways. There are things people can do that you just can't understand. When you come out here, you try to follow someone. Maybe they have like a family trust. The father gives him money. Wanna try kimbizana na lifestyle issues.
Yeah.
Maybe someone is working for GU and they're making like 500 Gs a month. You're there with your business. You're trying to keep up with this person. Like, just be yourself. And when you're yourself and you just enjoy your own company and don't be tempted by what people are doing, it will allow you to be happy in the presence of others.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then utaenda kwa msee uanze kumsikilia wivu. You're like, why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? So that's why I always say, like, just jipende tu and be content with what you have.
Yeah, it's also something that I always say, never to envy someone else's life. You can want something for yourself, but if you envy another person, like you don't know what they're trading for that particular thing that you envy. Maybe it's something that for you, you would never even want to trade for it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's really important. I agree with you there. And what's next for Frank? What's next for Muma Pix? What do you plan on, doing to grow yourself, to evolve? I mean, we are all waiting for a hot wife. That's for sure.
I deserve one.
Yeah, but what else is in the plan for you?
So I have this very deep love for film. It's something I really want to venture in, but I feel I still have some unfinished business in the photography industry. Probably finish setting up more Pix to be able to run on itself. And then now I can pursue the film industry. I feel I have a lot of good movies I can do.
Yeah, by the way.
Nakucheki. I already know what I'll cast you as.
Just not to be never take me seriously. I actually did theater.
You did?
Yeah, I used to do theater when I had just finished high school. So that period in between high school and joining uni.
Oh, yeah.
So like a bit in the first year, I did theater.
When you told me you would do makeup for those guys.
Now that's how I ended up being in makeup. Yeah, but first tulikuwa tunafanya hizo acting and putting up those plays. It was a bit too much work for me, man. The amount of work we're putting in versus the reward at the end was like wacha nipakane makeup. Yeah.
Do you miss it?
The acting?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
No. Like I said, the amount of work versus the reward. Actually, I think by the end of it, if you calculate all the fare, lunch. But that time, it was my dad was giving me lunch money, fare money. But right now, it would not make sense. I feel like at the end, you're actually making a loss. Yeah.
And I feel it's a problem this country needs to solve in the film industry because there are so many. Do you know there are even, what do you call them, cartels in this industry? Like, you find out to get your show to maybe a certain platform, you need to go through someone, pay them, and then before your pesa ifike actors.
Yeah.
It's just so hard, but someone has to do it.
Yeah. So before I let you go, we normally do a sort of time capsule thing. So you wrote a letter to young Frank. Now we're going to leave a message to 40-year-old Frank. So you can take a minute, think about what you would want to tell your future self. And then perhaps in 10 years' time, inshallah, I can look for you and give you back your message.
That is life.
Yeah, so whenever you're ready, that's your shots.
Oh, hi, Frank. The year is 2024. The boil dinner started. now you don't have any more hair. It's so hard. Maybe you've gone to Turkey to get your hair done, I don't know. But I hope you started shooting that show that you promised yourself you'll shoot. You promised yourself it's going to be the biggest show in Kenya. So I hope you did it. And if not, time is running out. Also, never stop eating chapati. Thank you.
What a pattern from today's podcast is. If ever see you eat half a chapati, we rush to hospital.
Exactly. Very bad.
Immediately.
Yes, there's trouble.
There's trouble. Okay. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it. And for you guys back at home, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.